meeting of the Ross Valley Sanitary District to order. Welcome, everybody. Roll call, please.
Borstein,
Yes.
Kelly,
Here.
Riggs, here, Scylla, here, Gaffney.
Here. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And item 2 is adjournment to closed session. Action during the closed session. Item 5 is approval of agenda.
I move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Now is an open time for public to raise items not on the agenda or future agendas. Members of the public may address the board on issues that are within the Ross Valley Sanitary District jurisdiction. Seeing no public members. Agenda item 7, standing committee reports out. Finance committee, I'll take that one. Finance committee met yesterday. We reviewed the interim financial statements. We had questions, but we didn't have any major things to say. We did discuss the, item 9E on our agenda, except the authorized reallocation of lateral replacement grant program funding. And in other words, make it, we discussed that. That's what you have here. Then we reviewed. Item 6, item 15, consideration of adopting the fiscal year business plan. We went over that, and I know there was a business plan committee that also went over. We took a look at the monthly capital improvement program report. We've got over $40 million of projects up there. We paid about 18 of it or something like that.
44 million.
So we got a bunch left. We looked at the legal services report, legal expenses up, you can take a look at that. And by the way, the info items are now agenda item 17. So we are going to review those at the end of the meeting. And we also took a look at the measures.
One thing we did go over and we asked is that the PG&E bill seems to be high for summer weather, and the interim general manager suggested she might ask PG&E to come out and do a power audit, which I think would be a good idea. $14,000 a month in summer month when you're not comfortable out there, there's not a lot of heavy rainfalls. It seems high.
Yeah, but we're pumping almost 4 million gallons a day. You can see it. Staff, what do you think?
We have the data.
Well, and the PG, that's okay. You want to?
Yeah, we have the data. We're actually putting a metrics report together, Patrick and I. So we'll be able to see what station, what's going on, and we can calculate it with the flow and see if it's an inefficient pump or something. So,
Is it out of the ordinary?
not really.
The costs in the articles don't seem to be out of the ordinary. That said, PG&E does offer the service of providing an annual audit, so we can certainly ask them to do that for us. They have a pretty complex rate structure. It's not a bad idea to have them take a look at the service rates that they're providing to us and see if those are accurately applied.
We also had a comment about city of, was it Foster City?
Yeah. Yes, we're paying Foster City for software. It's such a brilliant idea. Which software they invented?
It's a recruitment site.
Well,
We're posting jobs.
Just like the parking is done by Newport, the city of Newport, does all the parking ticket administration. You have to make a bundle on that. So maybe we ought to do something.
It's an innovation.
Yeah.
It's we can get to that when we report out. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Central Marin, we didn't have a meeting.
The meeting, we talked about Central Marin last time, and then Central Marin's meeting is next week. So there's nothing to report this time. Okay.
This is early.
And then North Bay, Watershed?
North Bay, they don't have a meeting every year and all.
And I talked to Felicia about this after the CMS, as a CASA convention. if a number of us go, we should have a report from what went on in CASA, because we really do steal a lot of good ideas from you.
Yeah.
It's a terrific organization. Okay, agenda item 8 is verbal report by board members and staff and request for future items. Any board member?
Yeah,
Pamela?
CASA always gets you going for ideas, like you said. So I would like this future item, agendas for the future. Okay. So I met up with a couple of board members and the manager of Castro Valley. And their rates are $300 a year. And they're just amazing. They do have, most of their board members are engineers.
Or what?
Engineers. So maybe that's how they've really kept up with their prices. Anyway, what I found out is they have an awesome environmental leader and waste reduction student scholarship. And it's $1,000 a year. Goes to a senior student for, I guess it's got everything in it. And it's great. It's really amazing. They have an incredible education website for their district. And it runs very smoothly. The money comes from ad valorem tax money. So anyway, I just wanted to share that, and hopefully we can do it.
So you're asking to have an agenda item on putting a scholarship program
Yeah.
together?
Yeah,
Okay.
and everything's there, so it would not be real difficult to have to reinvent it all.
Okay, Mary, did you have anything?
I do not.
I think Steve will probably talk later about this, but I believe he told me that 2 out of the last 3 months were no spills.
Yes.
Which has never happened.
I'm sorry, never?
No.
We need to.
Okay. So let's go for 3.
Ah. We're on our way, we're on our way.
Sorry.
Good work, staff. Staff?
Yes, thank you, Tom. So what's the number of days we're at now? 60?
66.
66.
Longest time ever?
Good job, Steve.
Sorry.
So staff has a couple of things. I did attend the LAFCO meeting on August 9th, and I
Okay.
distributed the staff report that was presented by their interim executive officer, Chief Jason Freed. It was with regards to the civil grand jury report on ways to consolidate special districts. Murray Park and San Quentin Village are 2 special districts that are sort of the topic of discussion for consolidation with Ross Valley Sanitary District. I was in attendance, as well as the Assistant Public Director for the County of Marin. Assistant Public Works Director, yeah, the County of Marin. And so Jason had asked the LAFCO, the commission, if he should proceed to, get maybe staff from these different agencies together to discuss the consolidation process and what that might look like. So he and I actually have an initial meeting scheduled for August 24th, and I will be reporting to you regularly on how that process goes forward.
Just pertaining to Murray Park and San Quentin Village, or?
Just pertaining to Murray Park really at this point, and then possibly San Quentin Village at some point. So similar to how the board anticipated Ross Valley Sanitary District might look at, Murray Park is the easier of the 2, if you would, districts consolidated.
That's complicated.
And when you said Jason, do you mean Jason Freed? or-
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, Jason. Yeah.
Usually the Jason with no last name is Jason Dow.
Yeah. My apologies, yeah.
And did you tell LAFCO about that we were much more likely to proceed with Murray Park?
I mentioned it on the phone with Jason. I didn't present any information to the commission at the meeting that night. I was there to receive information, so.
Did any of the board members comment?
Yes, there were some questions about, process, and Jason was able to address those very intelligently. Seems like he has quite a bit of experience. I don't know exactly where he was before he came to Marin, but he's pretty clear on how the LAFCO process would work. And then there were another couple of comments about, consolidation of sanitary districts overall throughout the county. However, the item on the agenda was specifically for Marin Park and St. Cloud Village, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, a couple other things. We did also receive a letter from Tamalpais Pacific in regards to the Victory Village request for reduced connection fees. So I'm distributing that to you tonight for your information. We do expect the public sewer extension application to come back to the board at a future meeting. And this is just correspondence for your information. Let's see. Oh, I'd like to congratulate Julia, has been promoted to the clerk of the board position. And lastly, the Ross Valley staff are organizing a staff potluck lunch. So everybody's bringing something homemade or bought made, but yes.
Mostly homemade.
Mostly homemade, on Tuesday, August 21st at noon. And of course, the board is, as always, invited to attend. You're not expected to bring anything. I'm sure there'll be plenty. So delighted to have
I'm sure the board.
attendance. I'm sorry?
Members of the board could bring some.
They absolutely could, yes. And that's, oh no, I do have one last thing. I'm sorry.
21st?
Yes, Tuesday the 21st. And one last thing is I distributed this full color brochure here.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I want to thank Catherine and her team, and Stephen also, I'm sure, contributed some to this. This is a product of NV5, who I think you guys are familiar with as our communications team, producing this. We've used it now at a couple of meetings where we've presented to the town of San Anselmo and to the town of Fairfax. In July and August, we'll be presenting to Larkspur and the town of Ross in September. And it gives a great overview of all of the many projects in full color format that the district is operating within our service boundaries. So it's a nice.
Are those meetings on the website, the dates and times?
On our website,
Yeah.
the ones that we've done are the ones that are coming up. I'm not so sure that they are, but we could add those.
When's the next one?
September 5th in Larkspur.
Could we get copies of these?
Yes.
Okay.
There's some on the back table, and yeah, please.
I was thinking, Kentfield is unincorporated, but we
That's
have a
right.
Kentfield Planning Advisory Board, and then Kent Woodlands has a Property Owners Association. So it would probably be good to get these in the hands of those
We'd
folks.
love to get the word out to those.
How many did you leave in Fairfax?
A small stack.
Can I get more, because
Yeah.
in the, right where the desk is when we go to
Sure.
the police station, if I leave it, I'm sure they'll go.
Great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
If
Thank
you
you.
call me, I'll come pick some up. I could put some in San Anselmo's Town Hall, the clerk
Yeah.
station. People will read them and take them. They'll be
Fantastic.
interested.
Fantastic.
Okay, what's that?
Very good, thank you.
Are you gentlemen here for,
I just, I had a question. My name's Ross Shoemaker, and I'm a realtor here in Marin, and I have a client interested in purchasing your property in Larkspur, and I just wanted to know who I would talk to about that.
35 million is yours.
I was gonna say,
I have a
talk
serious buyer.
to the EPA.
Yes. I just wanted to get some information. I talked to George Norby a while ago, but I had to
Great.
get hold of him.
Yeah.
My client about a year ago, 8 months ago, and the mayor, Kevin Haroff,
Yeah.
and I really couldn't, and then the client called me up a couple weeks ago, and he's seriously interested. He's a very well-known developer in the United States, completely qualified, and he's interested in it, so I'm just trying to follow through here, and I'd like to know who I would speak to, or if I could get any information, on how to move forward.
Okay, I think Felicia.
Yeah, I'd be happy to give you my card.
Oh, great. And I wouldn't be bugging you, emailing you, or calling you?
That's all right.
And you, sir? Thank you.
My pleasure. Do you have one?
Yeah.
Great, very nice to
As
meet you.
the,
Thank you.
the area been cleaned up, is
No,
a
it's-
wonderful idea, I think you guys will love it.
No.
EPA
And,
rules.
very, very well.
All kinds of studies on it. including board.
Seriously?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so what's the have to approve?
Well, I'm actually on vacation this week.
Vacation plan.
Hunter,
So probably next
No.
next week's
Okay,
vacation.
so holding us up.
So,
What's the cleanup involved? Just,
Removing a lot of dirt to the various class landfills, and, it's very expensive, because some of them are class 1 landfills, and they're far away. And so we don't want to take the whole area, we want to take just the contaminated dirt.
And the contamination was the paint on the old building.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't.
That's what it was.
discuss that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't discuss it anymore.
Well, no, you can give me information. Brown Act allows you to say that much, it's fine. You can give people information.
There is information on our website too,
Yep.
about various studies and newspaper articles, and so there you go.
okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
You're very much appreciated, guys. Thank you.
Okay, item 9, consent calendar. Does anybody want to pull anything from the consent calendar? Or discuss anything?
No. We approved the
I'm happy to
consent
see that we have a lateral program for the multi-tenant, units, because I had a specific inquiry about that, so, yeah, thank you.
The agenda item E is to not specifically say, which type of lateral connection we're doing, which is great. It's a first come, first served basis, and we've got the total budget, and we talked about it. We allocated $800,000 to it, and staff says it may go up to $875,000, in which case staff would come back to us
Yep.
for additional money if needed, and then the board can decide. Okay, a motion?
I need, maybe I'll second it.
Yeah.
You moved, yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Item 10, discussion and direction on Ross Valley Sanitary District Administration and Operations Facilities Needs Assessment. You're here for that.
Well, now that we've sold Morrisville Landing.
Maybe I should have said 50.
Yeah, thank you. So I just want to start this by saying that this was initiated a few months back by former General Manager Greg Norby at the June meeting. The needs assessment report that was prepared by Colin Russell, who's joined us this evening. Thanks for being here, Colin. Is also part of this report. It identifies the 4 distinct facilities that the district is currently operating out of, that the board is familiar with, of course, Kerner, where we held our administrative staff, and Larkspur Landing, where we have our operations staff. We also have, of course, the Anderson storage facility, and this room, where we hold our board meetings and public workshops when we had those. So the needs assessment that was prepared back in June and presented to the board identifies each of those 4 facilities, their existing amenities, and their deficiencies, quite frankly, and gives a snapshot of the district's current facilities uses. So this phase of this exploration is really to discuss how much, if you put all of those operational needs in one location, what would that look like? And so Colin prepared what he calls a block diagram, which is included in the report here, as well as a space inventory. And it really just identifies, okay, if you have an executive office, about how many square feet is that? If you have a kitchen, how many square feet is that? How much parking do you need for 35 employees? How much parking do you need for the heavy equipment vehicles that you have, that you need obviously to get in and out efficiently? And the totality of that space came up to about 40,000 square feet, which is approximately an acre. About half of that is parking. The other half would be facility space. So the reason this is in front of you this afternoon is because in the 18-19 budget, we had set aside improvements for the Kerner facility at about $1 million, deferred maintenance, including upgraded electrical, paint, carpet, I think a generator replacement, parking lot upgrades, and expansion of workspace. There's quite a few operational staff that report directly to Kerner, and their changing rooms are actually shared space with our file storage, so they don't have proper changing rooms at Kerner. At Larkspur Landing for the fiscal year 18-19 budget, we had also budgeted about $1.3 million for upgrades at that facility, including stormwater pollution prevention planning. There's a lot of gravel and dirt on that operational area that we're driving trucks through. We still have a plan to eliminate any pollution that could drain into the bay, and we don't currently. Also inadequate changing facilities at that location, as well as some building and electrical installations that were not done with the benefit of permits. So in looking at those two budget items, I wanted to ask the board for some feedback about whether that was an appropriate direction to continue to proceed along with the improvements at those two distinct facilities, or if in the opinion of the board, it makes sense to try to find one single site to house the entire district's operational facilities. And that doesn't have to be necessarily Larkspur Landing, but it might be somewhere within the district boundaries. I'm not a real estate person at all. Obviously, there's quite a bit more research that would have to be brought back to the board if that was the direction that the board was interested in going. But that's the presentation tonight is really just a snapshot again of the different operational uses that we currently have. And again, Colin's here to answer any questions with regards to that, and we're looking forward to your feedback.
Any initial comments?
At the CMSA meeting the other day, early in the morning on Wednesday, was the CSRMA conference. And there were two speakers.
The CASA conference, you mean?
Yeah, but, yes, at the CASA conference.
There's Sierra.
Yeah.
But the first meeting on Wednesday was the CSRMA.
Right.
And there were two speakers, and I was very impressed, mostly by the first speaker, Bob May, and he was talking about the importance of an organization like ours, that it really behooves us to be in one place together, so when the big one hits, or when we have that fire, or something happens, I have heard this over and over again, that we spend an inordinate amount of time and effort getting from operations to Kerner, Kerner to operations, if you want to have it all hands on deck. So, after hearing that, and that we haven't had a really big earthquake in a long time, or a fire around here, if we're going to do something, I would, after hearing that, and with all the fires that are going on and everything else in California at this time, I'm going to say, let's try and find a place where everything can be together, where this can be in one place, everything. So they made a big point of that.
I couldn't agree more. You said kind of offhand, it wouldn't necessarily be Larkspur. I think Larkspur would be entirely appropriate for this type of facility. This is a big trucks, and we're talking about big machinery, and that's going to be intruding into a residential area. I think we've got to get that stuff out of there. So I completely agree with this in general. I'm looking at this map, so it's interesting that we had this today. I look at this saying, I cannot imagine that we would be able to find the correct facility within our district. The property obviously is outside of our district now. San Rafael has more likely places. I wouldn't want to go much further than San Rafael if I could, but I'd like to find the right property. And I think we can find the right property. You're an architect, not a realtor, but you probably know some places that maybe you could lead us to, or there's got to be a facility out there that's right for us. And I don't know if we buy or lease or rent or what we do. I'm hopeful. I would defer maintenance again in Kerner. And my hope is, I don't recall what it was purchased for, but that's a really nice property for somebody else. It really is. I mean, I don't know why I would have moved into Craig Norby's office the next day, his office. And if she doesn't, it's beautiful. It's really nice. It looks out on the water. It's a really nice property. It's got a little backyard. We should be able to make a lot of money on that, rather than invest in it in you know, upgrade electrical. New person might not need an upgrade electrical, then anyway, that would make it their problem. I completely agree with working on this. I don't want to get sideways because we have a lot of projects going on and we're not at full strength. But I'd rather see us find a property than try and develop. I wouldn't want to do Larkspur Landing. That's too valuable a property. It's residential. It just doesn't seem right for me.
You agree with what, you agree?
I agree with
Should
looking
get
forward.
a new,
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree with everything Michael said too. It should be all in one place. I mean, this is really nice of Central Marin Police to allow us to use this room. But, you know, if you recall, I was suggesting we move them back to our offices because it's easier for staff. You know, you gotta pack everything up, you gotta move places, but it's not an appropriate place to let the public in because you're all down in the meeting, they're upstairs walking through your desk. So,
and it's not in our district either.
but the new one probably wouldn't be either. I mean, look at this map, where you can put it in Fairfax? San Selmo, we don't have anything in San Selmo. You know, there's no parking in San Selmo. Unless we get some sort of a, what do you call it, when the government takes property? The San Francisco Theological Seminary would be.
There's
nice.
never
What
been
about,
a domain.
Dougie, what about the town country club?
That's too far, no, it's funny you say that, but no, it's too far to go to Fairfax, that's way deep. Now you're at the end of, you know, you're too far from CMSA, you're too far from the water, you're too far from where something's gonna spill. It doesn't make sense. San Rafael makes sense. Nevada's too far, but I'm not, it can be.
Well, we're at the end of our district right now.
Right.
You know, where we are in Larkspur Landing.
But this is where if something's gonna have a really bad, well, no, that's not necessarily true. We're closer to the water, here's my point. We're closer to the bad, it makes more sense. But it doesn't, I mean, I don't know. I'm getting ahead of myself. We'd have to find the property
Right.
first, and then evaluate whether it's good.
No, I feel the same way. I think it's a great idea. And it's been batted around for a long time, but I think the question is, can we find a piece of property? You know, I mean, there are all these courtyards right over here along Tamil Vista, right? That's where Corte Maderas and MMWD is, but that's not in our district, right? Where does our district end? Redwood?
We're not in Corte Madero, so, yeah, Redwood is about right.
In Larkspur.
It doesn't matter within the realm of.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's a decision for the board, but,
Right.
you know, we.
And then where's Larkspur? I know Larkspur wanted to work with us. Where's their courtyard? You guys told me last month, but I.
Yeah,
It's there
here.
too?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's in Corte Madera?
No, it's here,
Right
across the
here.
street.
But it's not big, it's not
Okay.
adequate.
No, it's in the school district.
They're renting.
They're renting from the school district.
Oh, okay, yeah.
From Redwood.
I mean,
Like,
So,
I
so
think- I think-
we're gonna have a decision that's tough then.
Well, I think the main thing we have to decide is, do we want to have everything consolidated into one place? And if the answer to that is, yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense, then we can have then we can start the second piece of this. Maybe this is a piece of property we are currently unaware of.
But the tough decision we're gonna have is that, especially for our operations crew, you know, it's kind of primitive. And so do we spend some money there first, see what I mean?
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be a permanent investment. I don't know who else could use it.
you're talking about the 1.3 million for Larkspur Landing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's.
I guess it depends on what the time frame is, right? Like, is it gonna take us,
It's in the budget.
we're not,
It is in the budget.
Well, then another thing we can
upgrade.
think about is,
To upgrade.
Yeah.
And what does upgrade look like?
It
looks like
Needs-
1.3 million.
Not for Kerner.
Hey, so just for Larkspur Landing, it includes paving a good portion of the operational
Do we
site.
have to do that anyway?
No.
Well,
No.
as part of the stormwater pollution prevention planning, I think we would probably
And
have to.
curbs? I think.
And curbs and gutter and sidewalks. Probably landscaping, because that would be a condition of approval through the city of Larkspur. It includes expansion of the changing rooms, installation of a restroom, because right now they're using a porta potty. And, let's see, am I forgetting something? It seems like there was some other thing that had to be done there.
The access way would be.
Fencing,
Fencing,
access.
yeah.
lighting.
So isn't there land beyond Kerner that's empty down the street? Isn't that some land, some open, vacant?
It's marshland.
Or is it Kerner, where we're at,
And
Marshland?
yes, it is, and it's,
So
Singing.
But there is land there, I mean,
yeah.
has
We look at
anybody
that.
thought about just extending that and then putting everything there? I don't know how much land's there, but it's been there forever, vacant. And it's flat, and it's right next door, I mean,
Be
I
something
think
we're
finding the
exploring.
right site is it, but
I do.
to relocate, to look at the construction costs now, I mean, the real estate has just gone crazy, crazy, crazy. It's so high now. I'm just wondering, and I get it about the stage, especially for the guys, I know it's a real bummer out there. To me, that to me is more of a priority than Kerner. Kerner we bought in 2009, it's paid for, it's wrapped up in some bond money, but it's clear. And to do a new building for us, the tax rate's gonna go up, everything's gonna be more expensive, and another bond. Because I think it'll be 20 million to build a bunch of all new facilities. And that's, for me, I mean, my father raised me to be so practical, it's disgusting. But that's what I would do. I don't want to see the ratepayers get another $25 million bond, and I think this will happen if we,
What would we do?
to rebuild and put it in one place, to buy the
I
land,
know,
to build
but
it.
you don't want to see the rate go up, but you're talking 20 million.
No, I'm saying if we do that, we'll have to get some money to pay for it.
Well,
I don't think you heard me the first time, maybe, but that's what I said, is I don't really want to say, we need all this rebuilt and we need to put it all in one place. Ideally, yes, I'm not against it totally, but I'm wondering if we could do it a little bit more practically. We've already shocked the Raiders with double rates.
I hear all that, and I'm still gonna go back to what Bob May said, because there's gonna come a time when we're gonna have something very serious happen. It may not happen while any of us are even alive, but if we were to think way ahead, as we do with our pipes, and say, okay, this is a 50-year or a 60-year project that we're going to do, it's going to last for that long, then to say, okay, let's spend a little bit over here, and let's fix this up over here, and we'll just live with it. Yeah, we can do that. But there's going to come a time when we're going to have to bring it all together. And if we can at least think about that now, if we sell Larkspur Landing property at some point for whatever we can get for it, if we sell the Kerner property, just maybe that could cover the cost of consolidating it all in one place and have it not affect the ratepayers in a bad way, but then have them have a facility that's going to last now for the next 50 years, because there's going to come a time when we're going to have to take advantage of that emergency situation and to have everything together.
And we can't even value the efficiencies that we would.
Yeah,
Is there a sense of the board that we would ask to look for properties that might be available now that would be a good fit? I mean, that's what I see. I'd love to build something, but that seems like a lot of money, and I don't want to, I would hate to see us put any more money in Larkspur. To me, Larkspur is the money pit of all money pits. You know? I'm hoping someday we get some money out of it, but I really don't want to put any money in. I don't want to pay it, because if we sell it, the first thing a new owner might do is rip up the paving. It's like, I didn't want the paving there. I didn't want that. It
see,
just
that's
seems-
the tough decision.
Yeah, because I know it's not ideal. I know that the employees don't enjoy it. And I don't appreciate that. They deserve better than that. But there might be a property.
I gotta turn it out. Not only is it, going to be a problem in an emergency, but it's inefficient right now. Our staff is going back and forth, if an operations person has to get a piece of paper signed, what is it, 40 minutes of driving and all that? And so there's efficiencies there. And if you buy land, it's got a life more than 50 years. It's
Yeah.
got a 200-year life or something like that. But the building would be like 50. But,
And I'm sorry, we don't have to buy we could find a property and rent it. I'm not saying that's what we want to do. I'm not saying that's what we want to do, but, you know, it doesn't have to be a lot of money right now. I mean, you know, but of course, I'd rather own the property. But
Okay, so, Colin, would you like to tell us something, and what's your last name?
Russell.
No, that's what it's Russell.
Yeah.
I think it's a, you know, we will review it in detail. And the first thing I added in a homeless basin is 40,000. You're doing an acre of building. But it's
like-
mostly, you
It's
know,
like
it's a good
Target.
shit.
Parking.
It's as big as Target, right?
10,000.
Yeah.
10,000.
10 and 10, wasn't it?
10,000.
Yeah,
Total.
10 and 10.
Yeah.
10 and 10. So maybe you could help us. So the building is what? The total building area?
40,000?
Basically, yeah, well,
No,
No,
not
no.
counting the parking.
40 less the parking, so around 20.
20,000.
Yeah.
And you're an architect, you've got a little something for dollars per square foot.
Yeah, these days it's going to be between $250 and $300 a foot to build it.
I used
To build it.
To build a building, if it's a
Well, I'm
building.
talking about building.
Well, I
that's what he
know,
was
I'm
asking.
asking him, we already built a building.
If they build a building, it would cost $250 to $300 a foot.
It couldn't be, it would be in the $10 million range.
But in theory, if we sell
All right.
Larkspur Landing,
We
it
could
could
do that.
conceivably be more than that. We could come out with a net gain out of the whole deal.
Yeah, I just had some thought if I could
Mhm.
put it like this. Larkspur Landing property is probably one of the most valuable pieces of real estate in all of Marin. If you were to sell that, it would seem to me you'd have lots of proceeds to buy another piece that's not as desirable, not as valuable, somewhere else,
Yeah.
and have surplus, so.
And plus selling Kerner's?
Yeah,
So
there
then
you
we
go.
could sell
Two
that.
very desirable
Yeah.
pieces of property.
Yeah.
This is my take.
So maybe we ought to tell some developer, you want to get our property, you give us one that fits our needs.
I think the developers who want a boutique hotel may not have some chunk of property in the Roscommons.
We want to develop.
I know this is not on the agenda, but I have been contacted again by Len Rifkind and what's going on with the Larkspur Landing property. So can we have an update on that next month? Or, I mean,
That's a good idea.
would it be permissible to give us a month? See, because I don't want to push off the maintenance for the Larkspur Landing, for the people should have a toilet, right? So I wouldn't want to put off the toilet on when the EPA is going to finally move. I mean, given that I clearly remember Greg saying to me, early 2017, that we're going to be ready to sell that property.
The one sentence is that we're close to conditional approval from EPA,
Okay.
but it's not looking likely that the cleanup could occur in 2018 because we're already in August. But it's looking like 2019 cleanup could occur, given how close we are to conditional.
Is conditional approval pretty much what our consultants recommended, or is the EPA, remember they take it?
Well, the goalposts keep moving because we're working with EPA. And conditional approval can mean a whole lot of things. It depends on the conditions. So that's all
So
kind
we
of
don't
being
know.
negotiated, so we don't have all the specifics yet.
Let's
We can
put
do
it
that
on the
next month.
agenda.
Yep, yeah, we'll come back next month.
Thank you for the timeline though. So, I mean, that said, I would say that we should at least do some of the improvements at Larkspur Landing for
I feel the same.
for the quality of life for the staff.
I understand the quality of life for the staff, but if we're selling this in a matter of months, I mean,
It's not going to be months, it's going to be years.
So I have just a little bit more information I can provide. I'm sorry, Michael, go ahead.
No, just a question, maybe we have a good enough working relationship with Larkspur these days that we'd say, look, this is our conundrum. This is where we want to be 3 years from now. In the meantime, is there any, without doing gutters and sidewalks and
Yeah,
other improvements, can you see your way clear to give us some toilet?
right.
I mean,
Yeah. They might. They have their own issues, which is, so that's kind of a good segue, actually. I was going to share this with the board if it came up, and did I only make 5 copies? I guess I did. So can you give those to the board members? And Actually, you get these to the board members too. So, just a little update on the city of Larkspur, or just a refresher, from the May meeting, I guess there was a letter that the board sent to the city of Larkspur with regards to the general plan update, if you all remember. And so the other thing that I'm giving you is the resolution from 2005, which includes on the last page the specific plan that was approved by the city of Larkspur's council. And the reason I think this is an interesting piece of information is because it indicates that the Larkspur parcel is about 10 acres, and it's actually 2 parcels, I think. But part of that 10 acres is zoned for public utilities. And when I look at the map, it looks to be about 1/5 of the land, which is about 2 acres of the 10-acre parcel. So I want to bring that to the attention of the board because the city of Larkspur is prepared to, based on some conversations between the planning director and the former general manager, to reallocate some of that zoning designation for that parcel so that the public utilities piece would be closer to Sir Francis Drake. Now, I know we're not all in agreement about the future of the Larkspur landing parcel, but it is the property that the district owns. And it does have current zoning designation for public utilities facilities. Not exactly in the same location where we're currently operating, but that's one of the things I think we would have to resolve with the city of Larkspur. Even if we wanted to do a basic bathroom permit, we have to, I think, have them reconfigure that map, or they're going to want to reconfigure that map. So once they go through that process.
That's what we asked them to do with this letter.
Exactly, and so that's what they're working on. So, but they're going to be doing that anyway as part of, if we do some, I would say, what do we call it, mediocre, interim improvements. So when we do that, is that?
Still have to get there.
Yeah, that's just, again, it's just additional information for consideration.
One thing we don't want them to do is to eliminate that public facilities zoning.
Right.
We want them to maintain it.
Preserve the 2 acres.
And then
of it.
if we don't want it, they can do it well.
Right.
You know.
It's so-
We didn't ask them to change it. We didn't ask them to change any of the zoning, we just asked them to
Right.
eliminate the map. And my understanding from Dan Hilmer, when I spoke to him about the other issue, which we'll talk about later today, this came up briefly in that conversation, I think he intimated that was somewhat in the works anyway. I don't think that's gonna be a problem.
The zoning.
The map, this section goes here, this section goes here, that was for a specific development, so.
You know, there's another point too. When a public agency does a building, you can come to the public and say, you're building a Taj Mahal.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask Colin, say these allowances for office space, how would you categorize them? You know, it's not a Taj Mahal. It's
No,
not-
they're pretty standard office dimensions for executives.
I specifically noted that the general manager's office got smaller. Now, the clerk of the board's office got larger, which makes sense. The clerk of the
So we
board.
know who's
In the hallway.
Yeah.
That's right, it's the top of the stairs.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's
No,
extravagant
these
at
are
all.
pretty standard
Yeah.
for any kind of office
But
use.
nobody's going to listen to you when they come in. They're going to listen to an architect. And
Well, we're paying them, so.
Yeah, they're not over the top.
Well,
at
I'm
all.
going to bring up a point when you're done.
you know,
Going to legislation days, there is a new law, I think it's done, maybe Andrea, you know, about having surplus public land and how it needs to be offered. So we need to keep that in mind, and I'm glad Mary wants to update us because that law needs to come before the board. And on public surplus land, there are some restrictions in how you allocate it and how you put it up. And
Yeah.
so we haven't even gone there.
Well,
And here we're talking about selling.
Well,
it.
internally we have, I mean,
You have talked about
we're very aware of it, oh yeah,
You
for the
brought
past
that to
couple
the
of years.
board?
We have to
so
offer it first to other.
We have to offer to a couple
Governmental
agencies, and the legislation,
Or open space. Affordable housing is so massive
Yes.
right now in Sacramento. Lot of laws are changing because of that,
Yeah,
because there's no housing.
yeah, just for your information, the main purpose of the legislation is to make it clear that those surplus rules apply to more agencies than is currently applies to it. I had already assumed that it applies to sanitary districts. So I don't think the legislation makes a material change for our purposes. We were already subject to it, and we are subject to it.
Okay.
Yes, we have to go through hoops to offer it to other public,
Okay.
certain types of other
I
agencies.
just haven't heard that discussed,
Right.
and I
No,
was
it is
wondering
true,
if
and-
people knew
yeah.
about it.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah, we know all that.
all right, thank you.
I thought we did discuss it, briefly a while back, I remember.
It might have been a couple of years ago.
So 150 square feet for just kind of a basic office.
Yeah, it would be
12
like
by
a
12.
manager office or.
Okay.
I guess I propose sort of a timeline, when we get the timeline, we might have Larkspur Landing, then we would want to start looking for a new space, and that we should do improvements in the meantime on the other properties, except not maybe throwing, a ton of good money into it if we think we're gonna sell.
2.3 million.
And, yeah, and I don't want to say we're not going to do any of the deferred maintenance, which is already deferred,
Yeah, so-
and yet the move would come, like if we could just kind of agree that we believe the move, a consolidation of the spaces would happen after the sale of Larkspur
Why?
Landing. Because then we will have the money to do it. Then we will clearly have the money to do it.
Let me ask a question. Not having a crystal ball to where we can really see exactly what's going on in the future, would it make any sense to say, staff, just put a feeler out with a real estate agent somewhere and say, start looking around and see if, there's property in distress. Something comes up which, oh my God, this is too good to be true, and we could jump on it and, anyway.
I see no harm in that at all. I think that's good.
Maybe that would make some kind of sense, just to leave all options open at this point, having it be nebulous as to where we really don't know what we're gonna be.
So if it would be appropriate for me to sort of try to capture what
I
I
was going
heard.
to say, to try and summarize.
Yeah. So what I think I hear from the board is that a general consensus that one facility instead of 4 separate facilities is a good direction to focus on. The question remains, where would that facility be? Perhaps ideally within the district boundaries, but not necessarily as long as it was reasonable access to the district service area. So San Rafael, for example, could be a potential location. I'm also hearing that we could talk to a realtor, maybe get some idea of what, since we know from Colin's work, approximately what size of the space that we need, how much something like that might cost, where if there would be any availability or inventory. Yeah, we need an acre, right?
Or we could have a several-story building.
Right.
Like 3/4.
Could buy a little bit less.
That's what I thought about parking,
Yeah, underground parking or something like that. I think we talked about that. at
Very
one point.
expensive.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, then a garage.
It's very expensive to
That's
build.
the advice.
Very
It's
expensive
not
to build.
necessarily-
If it's already there, yeah, but big vehicles, how do you?
That's true too.
How do you?
What about that 6-story building in San Antonio?
The Union Bank, we know where to park the car. There's no
We've got a
parking.
big lot right
No.
We dedicate the first floor.
Public parking.
I think there's some buildings near my office that might be good to look at.
Well, I would really,
It doesn't
well,
matter.
I would really like to.
We're not gonna find something in Fairfax that's gonna work.
Okay,
It's not-
I would really like to look within our district. That's my thinking.
I'm not opposed to looking at our district, I'm just reading the crystal ball and saying, but you're not gonna find anything, but
Okay,
go
so
ahead.
then you're gonna meet outside the district.
Let's say it was on Anderson Avenue somewhere.
Then why don't we meet all the time at Kerner now?
Because we can't close the offices upstairs, it's not appropriate, because the public access, people can walk and go upstairs And we're down the hall meeting in a room.
And you can meet outside of the district boundaries under the Brown Act if your
Your
main
district.
office is outside of the district.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's not a legal issue, it's more of a practical issue. Why we don't
Okay,
meet
it's
there.
more, it's a practical reason that we don't
Yeah.
meet there. One door, except for the offices on the top floor. Okay.
Recently, the public hasn't been a big issue with our meetings.
Only now and then.
Well, there were a bunch of them when
So-
we did the green energy resolution.
So are we authorizing staff to talk to a regulator? I just think that's a great idea.
Okay, I'll do that, and then I'll report back to the board, as well as reporting back to the board with regards to the Larkspur Landing status,
Yeah.
and keeping in mind that maybe also we can put something in there about the public surplus, public sure property
We do a
surplus.
summary of that.
Summary of that, because that's not a bad.
How it impacts us.
Is that a fair summary of
Yes.
what was captured by the board? Great, thank you very much.
Okay, well, now we know how much we need.
Yes, thank you, Holland.
I think it was very well put together. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And
Yeah.
it's modest offices.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colin.
We'll
Thank
give the
you.
Taj Mahal.
We'll have a turret somewhere.
Okay, next agenda item,
Is the CMSA.
yeah, 11, discussion and direction of modification and term of appointment of CMSA commissioners.
Yes, so this came up at the last board meeting, I believe, during the section on appointments. And the discussion was if there were term limits to the CMSA commission terms. And there are for Ross Valley's appointees, but there are not for the other CMSA commissioners. And we looked at the JPA agreement. There is no requirement for term limits, and so this is being brought back to the board for your discussion and direction.
And so it works out that the officers of, like the president, continues to, the chairman.
Never gets to be from the biggest district.
Yeah, isn't from the biggest district. And,
Right.
you know,
That's disadvantageous.
I say we keep it for Michael, we change it for me, and then the next, there's no reason to have term limits. We can decide, I think it should be at the pleasure of this board.
I do too. I
But
don't
the
think,
board can decide, you know what?
it's not a locked-in policy, is it?
It is our locked-in policy right now.
It seems to be our own policy.
It's
It's our
just our.
There's a reference in an old resolution to a policy that has not been found.
Right.
So that's why we described it in here as the current practice.
It's a practice. It's not
Okay.
And you have complete discretion.
Okay.
So you could formulate a policy and that could be going forward.
Can I just make a motion that we decide that the positions of all commissioners and subcommittees are at the pleasure of this board?
Oh. Can we do that? Can we talk about all of them?
Well,
Or just
you've only got CMSA.
This one, all right, all right.
So
Then I will-
that.
I would move that we make this position serve at the pleasure of this board.
Second.
Is there any discussion on that?
I think
Yeah, we can decide next year when we.
That's right.
Okay, notice to the public, I call for the question, all in favor?
Oh,
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
let's do those.
buckle down, 12 is gonna take a while.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Item 12, item 13, item 14 are pulled from the agenda. I think you ought to do that every month.
Don't even tell us what they are, just put a bunch of stuff in there,
Put in some.
we pulled it.
Okay, item 15 is an important one, consideration of adopting the fiscal year 2018-19 business plan. And this has been reviewed, we've got a draft of it before, and we have a business plan, maybe Pam and Doug.
Yep.
And I think you folks made some additions. And,
Yes, exactly. So the business plan came to the board at the July meeting, and it was discussed from the last fiscal year business plan, those items that were active and ongoing, that we should continue those on to the next year's or the current fiscal year's business plan 18-19, and that there would be an ad hoc committee meeting, which there was on July 30th. Staff met with Director Meggs and Director Kelly, received some direction at that meeting, including just a few new objectives, business plan objectives for the new fiscal year, with the understanding that that there wouldn't be too many additions given the current staffing of the district. So those 3 new additions were to create and charter an ad hoc committee on public education and outreach, to include new website metric reporting and exploration of other social media, specifically Nextdoor tools, to expand our customer service. And then lastly, to increase the use of smart cover manhole instruments, and that's actually going to be discussed in the spring in anticipation of the following fiscal year's budget, because we recognize that there is a fiscal impact to increasing the use of manhole covers, smart covers.
By the way, I met the owner of the company.
Yeah, I did too.
He was fascinating, we had a long conversation.
Oh, great,
It
Cassie.
was really awesome, it was really,
David Drake.
so I enjoyed his conversation, so yeah, that's, and I think we do need to look at that in the next fiscal year. I think the more, they're expensive, but I think that at the end of the report, we're gonna look at the flow to CMSA, and I noted we went from 49 to 42. I would love to see that as a trend, that
Yeah.
we're going down and down and down, and just the idea, it's not so much that our bills would go down, it's that other bills would go up. It's just so delightful.
You know, I asked the question about this increased use of smart monitoring instruments. So what it would mean, we're going to buy some more. Does it also mean we're going to start analyzing, using the information to analyze?
Absolutely.
And it's going to direct our I&I
Yeah.
correction program.
Yes.
So that's what's cool.
How much of you, that guy, he actually said he'd put a report together for me on our own smart meters, because he hasn't. Do you have all that? Could you run that report?
It's called a SNAP plan. They're putting it together right now. It's basically how we distribute them throughout for I&I, for SSO prevention. But we're having trouble with the depths of the manholes and the contours.
With what?
Depths of the manholes and the contours. So it basically, because it's, it's all gravity. So to get a good report, we need to have all the that information. So John's getting it right now.
Okay, all right, and of course, the thing is, we have, what is it, 26 do we have?
20.
20.
20?
36.
36?
No, I thought we had 25.
I've got 30 at 26. I think we have 26.
With 34 in the ground.
34?
I see.
That's what I said, 34.
So we bought, I did.
We lost one, that's right.
Yeah,
I
no,
did
34 in the
ask
ground,
David,
two on the shelf.
Uh-huh.
So we do own 36, 34 in the ground, 2 on the shelf, but those are out because of capital programs.
Okay,
34.
so I did ask David, because I've talked to him, I said, if we bought a bunch, will we get a discount? And he smiled, so I'm just doing.
So did you get the discount? You got a
Well,
smile.
I'm gonna know, so I figured he's thinking about it. He is, I think there's more than one inventor on this, right? Or is he
I
right?
think he's the only guy in town right now.
Oh, really? He's brilliant to talk to, and he's a real nice guy.
They didn't get the discount.
Yeah, big discount.
You know, I had one item that I wanted to put on here, and I think it can't come, it has to be kind of negotiated with the union and others. We have pay grade and advancements, and I think we have pay grades tied to seaweed, grade, not grade 1, 2, and 3, and seaweed. But I'd also like to put in our competency-based training. If not only do you pass the seaweed test, the California Water Environment Association, you're a class 3 operator, but you also need to have competency in certain areas that we have. That's what Central Marin does for their treatment plant operators. They have, how to operate a pump or something like that. But then for Central Marin, you have to know how to operate a Worthington pump, because that's what we have. And I think we're doing that anyway, so.
That would have to come after we did the competency-based training.
Oh, yes.
And I don't think we want to add it to
Oh, no.
the book. At this stage. So anyway, as a
Eventually.
long-range plan, I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
So any other comments on the?
We talked on the phone. I've got some of these things to just say active, and you were gonna try and narrow it down to more of a date, right? Yeah.
Yes.
That's my only thing that I saw in it. We talked about on the ones that say 18, 19, because not 18, there's what? How many months left? 3 or 4, so maybe we could look in this 19 approximate on some of these things, so they just don't keep going.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Greg.
I think it helps to us to look at us as a, the overall view, what do we need to get done, and what can wait.
Right, and a good example of that is on page 2, when we were talking about the human resource policies and employee handbook, and that date is just listed as fiscal year 18-19, but of course, I think to your point, Pam, is that we'd like to say, well, that's going to be adopted in, well, we hope it was going to be August.
Say,
2018, but right, so September 2018 would be the target date to have that completed.
Yeah, and I guess for active, they're all active, right? Okay.
Ongoing, active, and
Yeah.
a definition of active, I think, is a good thing.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so that's, we need to adopt it, right?
And then, isn't there something about consolidate? Didn't we talk about consolidate at all? Is that part of this? Or not?
About the facilities or,
Do we know about?
oh, consolidation is
You and I
on
talked,
Murray Park.
so one more quick
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, we do know that.
Felicia and I did talk about emergency planning. And so what I found out was really cool, and all of it's kind of set, but it's not in one, like a packet or something. Let's say the district burned down or an earthquake hit the mains, is there a place you can grab that off the shelf? I don't think so, am I right?
Well, actually, Stephen and I talked about that this afternoon. You want to give us an update, Stephen?
It's in multiple places in the cloud, multiple servers. We have emergency action plans, we have pump station emergency response plans. We have the ORP, which is for SSOs. These are huge documents, they're all in packets, fully organized, they're all filed away
So
and scanned.
to pull it all together is not feasible, is what you're saying?
No,
No, but she's saying it is put together.
it's all together.
Saying it is
All
put
together,
together.
okay, I didn't hear that. Okay, great.
It's too heavy to carry.
Yeah, you don't know, a lot of paper. Definitely
And
PDF.
I didn't know that we actually, for an emergency, have other people come over from other agencies. I mean, I knew there was some of that, but it's all set in documents, so it's a
We have an
lesson.
interagency.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
a-
shared services.
Yeah, so that was a good lesson.
Like,
At the CSRMA meeting again that Bob mentioned, was talking about, look, we could sit here and we could, for the next 10 years, do what ifs. This happens, what if that happens. You can't do that. It's not a possibility. You spend so much time figuring out what if you don't actually do anything. So what he said is you figure out the best that you can in an ongoing situation and you think of something. But he said what's really important, the most important thing, and this goes back to having everybody, where if you have something terrible happen, you have your general manager and the engineer, everybody, it's like a situation room at the White House. Everybody together, and you say, okay, how are we going to do this? We hadn't planned on this, but what tools do we have and how are we going to do it? Which again leads back to that, having everybody together and know who those people are and what tools do you have when a situation comes up where there's no way you could have thought about this. Because you can't. He said that's just an impossibility.
And I attended the same session, and I just would add that, and Bob May, I've worked with him formally, and he's very good at what he does. And he also talked a little bit about tabletop exercises. And I don't know that the district in the past has participated in any tabletop exercises for emergency response. It's a good practice, and it helps to condition the folks who actually do need to respond in the event of an emergency. It reinforces the information that they should already know, but it puts them through a practical exercise. So they're on the spot, okay, what if we really were experiencing an earthquake right now? What would we all do? And how would we make sure that everybody in the room got out safely? You know, would we have some sort of roll call, and how would that look like? And it's just those are just good sort of annual or biannual exercises for organizations to do.
Talk even about, you call up the 911 response center and you say, we're gonna, you know, in half an hour, we're doing a drill and we're gonna call.
Right,
This is a fake drill.
right.
So just know that we're gonna see how Joe over here would
Right.
handle this crisis by calling 911, and you can actually do that and work with the county and
Sheriff's Department, because
Yeah.
that's what the 911 calls now.
Exactly.
Well, I think you made some good points, but I think the most important thing beyond that is hiring good, intelligent staff. So,
Thank you.
maybe we can work on that. I'm sorry, we have the best.
And don't let the board members panic. Okay,
I move that we adopt fiscal year 2018-2019 business plan.
Second.
okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Good job. Item 16, consideration of approving the creation of an education and outreach committee and appointing 2 board members to the committee. Now that will accomplish one of our business plan programs for the year.
Check.
So,
Yes, and that was another discussion at the last board meeting where it was suggested by Director Next to replace, I think we had I forget the name of it, was a communications committee or something.
Communication and outreach.
Communication and outreach, no, the previous.
The one that was abolished.
Yeah, the one was.
I think it was called communication and outreach.
Well, there you go. So this is going to be an education and outreach committee, and perhaps,
Dramatically different.
well, perhaps the student scholarship from Castro Valley would be one of the items that could be entertained by that committee of the board. So this again is a discussion and direction. Send it back to you, Tom.
great. Any comments from the board?
I guess with my background, I taught for 10 years nursing students, and I put on a health fair at Marin Catholic, and I put on another health fair at Drake High School. And I'm really interested in the environment, especially about the microbead thing that's going on. It's unbelievably a mess. And I also used to do a lot of volunteer work with friends at Cornelius Creek. So I have like this innate natural thing to teach and be out there. I would really enjoy doing this. I've got some ideas, actually made a list, but I don't want to overwhelm anybody. But there's a lot we could do. There is quite a bit. And I have a granddaughter who's 14 at Drake, and then I have another 5-year-old in Western. So I'm kind of seeing some of the things they're doing, but we could just do so much more. And even things like, I'm seeing a lot on Nextdoor, and there's a real hunger to know more. And we are really, I guess CMSA, they have part of that education plan or something, but we're not part of that. And I know I don't want to overdo it or make it, do a lot what they're doing, but I think it could be really creative. So I think that's all I have to say.
Any other comments?
No, I think it's worth doing.
I did review the videos of the Russian River watershed from high school students this week, and I'm amazed. So they give them a theme, that first, second, and third prize. Some of them are just outright hilarious, and then there's others that are so cute. They got little kids talking in mics, and so they look on, they give them a theme like, this is a drought, turn it off, turn it off. And so that's another thing that actually I'm working with Judy Kelly at North Bay Watershed to bring down. We're there, but you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So it's another idea.
So I guess we should vote on approving it, or is there another board member that would like to be on the committee?
You? I'll do it. Nobody wants to, I could be good.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the creation of the Education and Outreach Committee.
And is it a standing committee meeting monthly?
No.
Okay.
So ad hoc committee.
Ad hoc committee?
So ad hoc committee.
Okay. I move that we approve the creation of an ad hoc education and outreach committee and appoint Pam Meggs and Doug Kelly to that committee.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, item 17A, information item, monthly operation and business metric report. And so we now agendize these so that we can review them because
Yep.
it's really terrific work. And on page 3, my comment is, look at the graph there. During dry weather, we're 47–48% of the flow. But during wet weather, we go up to 51, 51. So that means we have worse I&I than the other members.
Where page are you?
2,
3.
Graph.
3 on 9.
Well,
So like dry weather, we're in the 40s.
well, we're in the high 40s, except recently, which went from 49 to 45 to 42, and I'm really hoping that's a trend due to some of the work we're doing. I mean, I would love to see that continue. I'm hoping that continues. But it's 49 in July, and then it goes to 47, 47, 46. It only goes up from 49 to 50. I mean,
Okay, yeah, it doesn't dramatically change, but it means that our I&I is a little bit worse than everybody else's.
Yes, I guess that makes sense. Yeah,
So that's why we're spending all this money
Yep. Yep.
trying to make these improvements,
Well,
so that we can pass the buck on to somebody else.
yeah. I actually
And-
want, what was it?
Well, that's it.
I want to point out page 2, the crews installed 71 cured in place point repairs. That's stunning. I mean, that is really, I read that, I was like, holy Toledo. Is that like a world record?
That is the record.
Yeah.
This is a lot.
That's
Duly and immediately noted. I read that and I was like, wow, that's really good. That and no spills. Of course, maybe they're hand in hand. You're not fixing spills, I mean, cleaning up spills, you're actually getting work done.
It does help a lot.
Yeah, that's really, really remarkable.
Thank you. I'll let them know.
Yep. What about, can I ask, why there were so many odor complaints and so many hours on that?
The construction over behind Bon Air Center. So we've had some,
Open that bad boy up and
yeah.
stick a Rui, eh?
And it goes right up to all those apartments.
Yep, we made friends with many people.
Page 7 of 11.
So,
And the private SSOs, we don't report, I don't, maybe it's somewhere else. How much was that spill, the private ones?
I don't have it in front of me. They're usually just a couple
Significant or
hundred
insignificant? Or-
gallons. Small. Most grass saturated to the ground right around the clean out.
All right, okay.
I had a question on the condition assessment 5, which was resurveys. And a resurvey is when, it's on page 5.
Yep.
A resurvey is we put a facility on watch, or we routinely go back to it. Okay. I wasn't sure. Why we-
And it expanded beyond what you were supposed to, what you were planned on, so you got more done. That's good.
So I think this is a good, lot of information.
Yep.
Okay, how about information item, yes, anybody else has comments? Information item B is the capital program report. Now look at all the projects we've got on the first 2 pages there.
Okay, this is a good report.
And then here's the numbers on it.
Yep.
I have a question.
Yes. And which one are you on?
Well, I'm trying to find scenic on here. Is scenic on this report?
Yes, it's the second gravity sewer project, the 16-17 gravity sewer.
So no more complaints.
Recently.
Thank God. When's it gonna be done? Because I'm gonna go up to that neighborhood and see somebody who broke their foot.
Scenic, I believe the current date is the 24th, barring any changes.
Of September.
Yeah,
September.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long, so that was like 4 months to do the whole thing?
Probably, yes.
Oh, okay. And I thought Justin was gonna be here. Please.
I thought he was gonna be here too.
Because I had questions for him. Okay.
Yeah, we can, with the pleasure of the board, refer you to item 9F, which discusses several of the capital improvement programs' current status. And I know we kept it on consent, so it wasn't a discussion item, but there was a lot of good information there about the schedule and individual projects throughout the district.
But from what I understand, they start and stop them. That's just sort of a guess, right?
The start and stop dates, the stop date should be fairly firm at this point. They're as anxious to get out of there. I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way, I just mean they're ready to wrap up.
All right, just want to be prepared.
Yeah.
And we are updating the construction notices on the capital improvement site for each of these projects, so that information will be updated if anything changes.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
When we send out the notices, if in the mail, which everybody gets, if any of our constituents had a question or an issue or needed some extra help, maybe because they're old and they might trip over, they could call us and we could make accommodations.
Oh, yeah, it's right in
Such-
that.
I understand, so I'm just saying, because I had a friend of mine, who, had some difficulties with one area of construction off of Sir Francis Drake, and the minute staff knew about it, they were out there and took care of it instantly. So I think a lot of this is, we gotta get the people to know that if they call,
Right.
that it will get taken care of. That's been my experience, is that it doesn't sit around for a week or two.
That's why I want those signboards.
Yes, sign boards.
That's the, whatever I call
Number
them. What do I call them again?
Sign boards.
Signacade.
Sign date.
Can I make one more comment on the 16-17? We did a RVSD kind of in the same format as that foldout that you have on that project. It's a project information sheet. That was mailed today to everybody who has work pending, whether it's for open cut pipe bursting or lining, which is upcoming. So there were about 1,400 properties that should get a project informational sheet on that project
14.
this weekend. 1,400.
And is that
Is that all?
Fairfax or where is it?
Fairfax.
Fairfax is 7,000.
Larkspur.
Right, that's what I thought.
No, it's everybody within 300 feet of the project or that we think would be impacted by the traffic.
And you noticed all the managers, the neighborhood people that don't have town managers. Because that's, I think, where we sort of, that, and next door, if we had done that early, I think there wouldn't have been any.
Well, with all due respect, you have to live in the district that you're on for next door, so the next door postings are coming from you for Fairfax. I know.
They come from the
Well,
manager.
They can come from a
Garrett-
public agency.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Garrett does them all the time.
Yeah, the point of information is that if you're a resident of a neighborhood, you're limited to posting within that neighborhood. But if you're a public agency, you can actually post to multiple neighborhoods.
Right, I get them from San Rafael sometimes, it's weird. So anyway, no news is good news.
So 9F, again, just to bring the board's attention back to that, because it does have a lot of great information in here. There's some sample website content, a sample project sign, a sample project information sheet,
Yep.
sample contractor notice, which, includes phone numbers for call, and one of our changeable message board signs that we have out on Sir Francis Drake Boulevard. So we've been really stepping up the effort to do communications better than we have in the past, and I think we still have areas where we know we can make some improvements. But the other really, I think, great thing about this report is that it talks about the number of residents that we have, or that, you know, that we're almost directly impacting with each of these projects within the district. It's almost 5,000 residents, and the number of complaints that we've received, I mean, it's in the handful. So if you think about that in terms of.
And none of them are complaints, some are just questions, they're not all complaints.
That's true, yeah. Questions about the project as a whole and that sort of thing.
Not a big deal, but on the changeable sign, it's not a big deal, I'm just saying, people in Marin see RVSD and think Ross Valley Sanitary District. I mean, Ross Valley School District.
School district, you're right, that's right. RVSD and RVSD.
I think particularly people in San Antonio, but I think
Yep.
Okay, I think that we.
Well, that's what a sign is.
Oh.
We should just change this back to sanitary district. Then there'll be no confusion. All right.
Well, I figure if they see RVSD in a big hole in the ground.
What are those kids doing?
Well, I have to tell you, I was at the site and seeing, I think I told you this. This lady in this BMW SUV, there's a sign that says road closed. So up the way, I don't know, short, not too far, is a big ditch. So she gets out of her car, she moves the sign, and she starts driving. And so Justin and I are there, we ought to get better signs.
I'm sorry, if you move the sign by the train.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a sign problem.
Yeah.
That's a Marin County
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
And she had little kids, and then
Yeah, okay.
I start to worry about the elderly in these narrow, windy streets in Fairfax.
I worry about the next person. She moves the sign. Not her.
Good, we were there.
Any more on B?
No.
C, legal activities.
Going back up. Going back up. Heading in the right
What
direction.
happened, Andrea? You're on a down slide here.
A lot going on.
Yeah.
I was happy in April. Do we expect this, how is this trending to?
Well, it's always hard to predict, but I don't see any reason for it to go up. I just, we've had a lot going on in the last month. but-
I just thank God it's 2 digits.
Okay.
Okay.
And then item D, I sent a letter to Dan Hilder, the village had some comments.
Well, the letter changed completely. This is a completely different letter. And I have the old letter, if anybody doesn't have the old one.
I haven't.
And my issue was that we all voted on the old one. We wordsmithed it. Specifically, you know, we talked about exactly wordsmithing it and talked about changing one sentence. But my problem is, where did we come up with the decision to have a committee of 2 people from each district decide whether,
From the contract.
That's
what's in the contract.
No. That's for the appointee of the position.
That's what I said.
Even this letter says, we'll have a committee of 2 people. The way I'm reading it, the way they're gonna read it is 2 people decide whether Larkspur stays on the CMSA to begin with.
Okay, well, see, this letter was flawed because it said it'd be a joint meeting of both boards to
Yes.
decide on the appointment to CMSA. And I figured, wait a minute, we're asking them to follow the contract, and then we're going to change the contract by saying both governing boards meet. So what we put in here, let's see, additionally, the RVSD requested a joint meeting to discuss Larkspur. And it was, that one was going to be for the entire board.
I don't agree with you because my letter clearly says, as you know, there's a vacancy in the Larkspur Commission and it spells out exactly how to do that. So in order to address the LAFCO report, RVSD and the City of Larkspur should take this opportunity to discuss the future of the Larkspur seat in general. Should the Larkspur seat and the RSV board jointly decide to terminate the Larkspur seat, the above referenced committee would not need to move forward. There was no flaw in my letter. It spells out exactly what we were planning, but now what we have is a 2-person subcommittee from each district to decide whether Larkspur is going to sit on the board.
No, we
And
don't.
that's what the
No,
letter
that's
says.
not what it says.
Yeah.
No, that's, the first paragraph is, and it's saying, two-person committee gets a permanent person. Dan is just an interim, right? Dan is just the alternate. And then the next paragraph says, the joint meeting will take the opportunity to reconsider the commitment of one of the 6 CMSA JP seats to the city of Larkspur. So the second is, should Larkspur have a seat at all? Now, I remember saying, it's going to be Tom signing this letter because he was made president. And I don't know whether we explicitly said that he had the power to edit it.
You said that, and I said, why don't we just wordsmith it right now? And we did. And that's, I can tell you what time that was. That was at 32 to 12 in the meeting, because I looked at it. So anyway, it's done, because I asked if it got sent.
I don't think it's materially different, and I understand your frustration, but I also know when I was, like, when I had to sign a response to the civil grand jury, I wanted it to be in my tone.
And that's
so
fine, and
I
then you bring it
understand.
back in front of the board, and that's what I did. I wrote this, and then I brought it in front of
I
the board.
think there is a policy that talks about communication on sport because of the nightmare stuff that used to happen.
When Frank would put out press releases
I'm
all by
talking
himself.
about, no, I'm talking about before Frank,
Oh.
where letters were sent without the board voting on it, and then your name would be on that letter. And I really raised hell about it because I did not agree, and nor was it brought to the board that the changes had been made or whatever. So we did develop a policy. I don't know what it is. It's a communication policy. And personally, if they're going to change something, I want to see it to vote on it. I don't want my name on there otherwise, because I've been
Well,
through
your name
this
is
with Frank
in
too.
the fine print, but I signed the letter, and I get to write it. And then if the board says, oh no, I can't write any letters, I'll bring them back.
Okay.
But I also didn't like the I in there.
That's fine.
It isn't an I.
No, and you wordsmithed that, and we took it out.
Yeah, it's
That
the
was-
board of directors.
No, that's fine. You suggested that, and we agreed immediately, and we wordsmithed it, and we said, that's fine. So,
So do we have do we want to vote on a policy that any letter that goes out?
We have a policy.
Well, I don't know that policy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it was developed because of this kind of things being changed by
I think, I'd rather just talk about
chair.
this. The bottom line about this is, the letter went out, it's out, so it's done. I'd like to do is follow up, have you, Tom, follow up with Dan,
Okay.
and see if they're going to meet us, and you can just, if he read the letter the way I read the letter, you can clarify him. I think I already spoke to him about it in general, so I think it's fine in that sense. And let's just see if they're gonna meet, let's just move on.
Okay. And if we have a committee of 2, I would like Mary to be on that for one. if you would.
Wait, hold on. What's that?
If they do agree to meet with
If we have a
us,
committee of 2.
well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
You can.
But believe me, yeah, after I watched that board meeting where nobody said boo to Dan Hilmer, I wished I'd been in that room, but.
I don't understand.
Which one?
Oh, on the May 8th, I remember because it's my son's birthday.
Yeah.
The CMSA.
The CMSA meeting where all Dan
Oh.
Hilmer said
Oh, I was there.
was,
I was there.
that worked pretty well. When you suggested, everybody said Dan Hilmer said nothing. I watched the video afterwards. No, when you suggested that if Larkspur wanted to have input into CMSA, they should come to our board meeting,
Right.
he said, well, that worked pretty well, in a totally like sarcastic, passive-aggressive manner. And I thought, well, that tells me a lot. So
Well,
we're not moving him 1 inch, I don't believe. So I think that addressing this to the, for the differences we have about how the letter was written, addressing it to the Larkspur
It's
City
gone.
Council.
The letter's out. I'm not
Okay,
gonna.
all right.
Okay, meeting adjourned.